Welcome to the Exam Sale channel, where we're going to break down the implementing and configuring Cisco Identity Services Engine, or 300-715 SISE exam. This exam is a crucial step in becoming a certified Cisco ISE expert, and we're here to guide you through the syllabus. Over the next few minutes, we'll cover the key domains, topics, and skills you'll need to master to ace this exam. The 300-715 SISE exam is divided into 7 domains, each carrying a specific weightage. These domains are Network Access Device Administration, Policy Enforcement, Web Auth and Guest Services, Profiler, BYOD, Architecture and Deployment, and Endpoint Compliance. The exam will test your skills in these areas, with a mix of hands-on, conceptual, and scenario-based questions. Let's take a closer look at each domain and what you can expect. The Network Access Device Administration domain carries 20% of the exam weightage and focuses on configuring and managing TACACS Plus for administrative access to network devices using Cisco ISE. You'll need to understand how to compare TACACS Plus and Radius protocols, configure TACACS Plus shell profiles, command sets, and authentication, as well as manage network device groups and troubleshoot TACACS Plus sessions. The Policy Enforcement domain accounts for 15% of the exam weightage and covers implementing authentication and authorization policies for wired and wireless network access. You'll need to know how to implement 802.1x, configure MAC authentication bypass, define policy sets and rule logic, and utilize Radius attributes and VSA for enforcement. Additionally, you'll need to understand how to implement change of authorization flows and configure Cisco TrustSec components. The Web Auth and Guest Services domain also carries 15% of the exam weightage and deals with deploying guest access solutions, including web authentication and sponsor-led workflows. You'll need to compare central web authentication and local web authentication, configure guest portals and sponsor portals, manage guest types and account lifetimes, and implement hotspot and self-registration workflows. The Profiler domain accounts for 15% of the exam weightage and focuses on utilizing ISE profiling services to identify and categorize endpoints on the network. You'll need to understand how to configure Profiler probes, implement endpoint profiling policies and logical profiles, manage the ISE Profiler feed service, and configure profiling exception actions. The BYOD domain carries 15% of the exam weightage and covers implementing self-service onboarding and certificate-based authentication for personal devices. You'll need to compare single-SID and dual-SID BYOD flows, configure client provisioning services and resources, implement certificate provisioning using SEP and Eastern Standard Time, and manage registered devices and the My Devices portal. The Architecture and Deployment domain accounts for 10% of the exam weightage and deals with designing the Cisco ISE infrastructure, persona distribution, and licensing models. You'll need to understand how to configure ISE personas, implement standalone and distributed deployment modes, manage ISE smart licensing, and configure certificate management and trusted certificates. The Endpoint Compliance domain also carries 10% of the exam weightage and focuses on ensuring endpoints meet security requirements before granting network access. You'll need to understand how to configure posture services, define posture conditions, actions, and requirements, implement posture policies, and configure any Connect posture modules and profiles. In conclusion, the 300-715 SISE exam is a comprehensive assessment of your skills in implementing and configuring Cisco ISE. By mastering the 7 domains and topics we've covered, you will be well prepared to succeed in this exam and take your career as a Cisco ISE expert to the next level. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.